Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Mike Aim Show, and I'm joined by the magnificent, the suave, the debonair, the man who's in charge of the will, Mike Ames. Hi, Dad. How you doing?
I want you all at home. If there's anyone listening to this or watching, just a round of applause, Mike. It just makes me feel good. Okay.
Do it round
And
as well.
yes, it is Cymru, Mike, because I'm on my holidays again, as you can
You are on
see
your
by the
holiday box.
background, different background to what I normally have. So I'm
Well, it's
working
still very
holiday
orange.
in Wales.
Well, you're living your best life. So today, Mike, we're going to be talking about how to max out client revenues and protect from the competition. Now, we've broken that down into sort of four things. We're going to talk about the challenge that people face. Then we're going to give people a solution, but we're going to go a step further than that. We're going to then give them a method and a technique. So we're going to make it super, super practical today. Just a word of warning for everybody who is watching right now. We have tried to make this under 30 minutes, which is what we like to keep the Mike Ames Show to. And we've struggled just a little bit because it's going to be a little bit dry if we broke it out. So it needs to be together. So we might run 5 minutes over. We like to be on time as always, but I thought we'd just let you know it might run over just 5 minutes or so today. Isn't that right, Michael?
It is, yeah. We'll do our level best.
Yes, we will indeed. So before we sort of kick off, Mike, I believe that you have a little question for our viewers.
Yes, as Mr. Doughty, my history teacher, used to say, the first questione. It's funny how these things stick in your mind, isn't it? So the first questione is this. Given the choice between dealing with me and Kirsty at separate companies, providing the same service, exactly the same in every way, shape or form, and our abilities to deliver that service are identical as well. The difference is Kirsty, look, is chatty and funny and interesting and just a nice person to spend time with.
Thank
Me,
you.
I'm a nice person as well, but I'm kind of more matter of fact and I'm just about the work, right?
Mm.
Who would you prefer to work with? And there's no obvious answer to this, weirdly. It's not a trick or anything. So just put in the comments, Kirsty or Mike.
Yes.
And it better be Mike. No. Just joking there. Yeah. Hey, Kirsty.
Yeah. Yes. So please let us know in the comments because we desperately want to hear about that. So, Mike, let's kick off and start talking about the challenge that people face.
Right. That's what we said in the promo for this show. And what we're talking about now is that if the point of client account management, client care, whatever you want to call it, is those two things. You want to max out the revenues, ethical revenue. So we're not talking about selling things to people they don't need or want. So ethical revenue, we want to max that out. And at the same time, we need to do something to ring fence and protect that client from competitor attack. Because if it's a good client, people are going to go for it. And you can't be there sitting by the client when the phone rings to say, oh, that's a competitor, just put the phone down. Yeah, put the phone down, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that. So what's important is that you build a mechanism in place to protect those clients. Okay, that's a really key thing. That is account management right there.
Perfect. Okay. So, Mike, have you got something to sort of bring this a little bit to
What
life?
we would call the solution, you mean?
I think we might call it the solution.
We do, yeah. Right. It means to become the first choice supplier. Now, let's unpack that for a second, because that just looks like one of those bland business speak things, doesn't it?
It does
And
a little bit.
So isn't. What that means is that you are the natural choice. You're in the circle of trust. You're a partner, not just a supplier. You as an individual, not your firm. So this isn't something signed up where they have to come to you first before they go to anyone else. They use you first. They give you the edge first because they want to, because it's their benefit to do that. They like to do that and they want to do that. Once you get into that position, everything changes. So what we need to do is I'm just going to share the screen. Or maybe you can do that, Kirsty. We had a little practice sharing screens earlier.
I think I will. Yes.
And it didn't go well for me, did it? Right. So
you're on your holiday. It's okay. I'm here.
I am. Yeah, I am. So this was the growth in turnover for my first company, hence the title of the slide. Now, for the first 5 or 6 years, what we mainly did was two things. We mainly won new clients, high value clients or potential high value clients, and we were very good at it. There's no question. And what we did around 92, 93 was go through a reformation of the business to scale it. So prepare it to scale up. It's pretty much what I do with my clients now. It's that very thing, right? We went through a series of processes to make that business able to grow whilst keep its shape. Then in the last 4 or 5 years of its life, what we mainly did was work those clients. We put huge amounts of effort into client care, extreme client care, as we now call it. Cuckoo client care is another name for it, where you basically get rid of all the other birds in the nest. But basically, the deal is we maxed out the value of those clients, and you can see what happened. I mean, I don't have to tell you what happened. You can just see it right there. That is how that's the best way, I think, to make a lot of money sustainably, is to be in that position of first choice. Kirsty, can we go back to
we
to
can
us now?
indeed. You can't be trusted to click anything on here. It's all about me.
Yeah, it is actually all about you.
Yeah.
So that is the solution. The question then has to be, of course, well, what do you think the question is, Kirsty?
I'm guessing, is it something about what's the method?
Yeah, how would you do that?
Interesting. Yeah, how would you do it?
Yeah, right. You enter the friend zone. Now, again, this just seems so non-business. It's like, what's he on about, really? But actually, this is entirely the case. You establish relationships with people, decision makers, users of your service sometimes, who which is Business Plus. Basically, we call it that in Flair, Business Plus. It means that they like you as a person. They get on with you. They know the basis of the relationship is dough. You know, they've got a need. You fill that need and get paid for it. But nonetheless, you're in the friend zone. And I think that it's really important that we dig into this, simply because there's been a lot of psychology around this. This is an opinion. This is psychology and studies. And I'm going to go through an example now, and I'm going to ask everyone to imagine their own friends as I go through it, and you can prove it for yourself, basically. So, Kirsty, can we just go back to...
Yes, we can.
Right. We should have entering the friend zone on the screen, I hope.
We do, Michael, we do.
Awesome. So what I want you to do is think about one of your friends, maybe your husband, wife, partner, best friend, drinking buddy, I don't know, whatever. It might be a little different for blokes and for women. Sadly, that tends to be the way it is, but do your best with this, right? See if you can work it out, right? If you think about those people, the way they make you feel should be that. And again, the psychology around this, the data around this is enormous. There's a lot of research around it. It's crystal clear, really. This is how it works. So let's just go through and dig a little deeper on each of these. And Kirsty, I know you're quite into this sort of thing, aren't you?
I am.
I know you are.
I am very into this kind of stuff.
You could have done this piece, really, or whatever.
I don't want to take it away from you, Mike.
Thank you, my dear. Yes, because it's nearly the Kirsty Ames show. I'm just hanging on with my fingertips, just about. Okay, so, right, so special simply means the opposite of how a call center makes you feel, right? So, you know what I mean? So you get a call and they call you by your first name, but so what? They don't know who you are or care. And the next time someone else rings, it's someone else, and yeah. It's the exact opposite of that. They know you as a person because they've learned about you and they act on that knowledge. And that's really important. So
it would be things like if someone wanted me as a client, when I turned up at their offices, they had caffeine-free herbal tea because I don't drink caffeine. Or it would be if they were inviting people to a football match and it was a Wolves match, they'd invite you. Is that because obviously you're a huge black and gold fan?
But even not necessarily that big. If they know a Wolves fan, which by the way I am,
obviously black and gold warriors.
Black and gold warriors, the gods of Molyneux. There they are. Then they might, if we have a massive victory, which I'm sure we will at some point.
Always, yeah. Then it's going to happen.
They might send me a message or give me a ring or whatever, or send me a clip of something that's happened. Someone did the other day actually, but apparently looking to buy some player from Portugal who's been arrested for armed robbery. And
excellent.
But I think he'll fit in really well in Wolverhampton.
He'll do really well. Steve Ball the second, is that what it is?
Oh yeah. So, but anyway, someone sent me that and we had a little riff about it, right? Because they knew I was interested. So that's what means you feel special when someone does that, because you know that they've listened or learnt about you and then acted on that knowledge. Very powerful in business. This is so simple, really. I mean, appreciation. It's very easy to take someone for granted, isn't it?
Yeah.
And appreciation is the exact opposite. So it can be a simple thank you. It can just be that, or send someone a little gift. We both appeared on the Rolla Crouch show, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And she sends you a little bottle of wine. It's
That's amazing.
It
It is
doesn't need to
amazing.
do that. I said
It
you
was
don't need to do
delicious
that.
as
Just
well.
come on. Yeah, it was delicious. Yes. Yours was better than mine, I think.
Of course
Thank
it
you,
was,
Rolla,
yes.
for that.
She likes
The
me
point is that it was a recognition for appreciation. Look, you did this thing for me. I really appreciate it. Here it is. So, and there's lots of things that you can do with your staff, with your clients, with everybody to make them feel appreciated. Oh, now this one, maybe you should do this one, Kirsty, because I'm a man apparently and know nothing.
Well, I mean, this is a very common
That's what
thing,
you
I
said
think.
earlier, wasn't it?
Oh,
In
do you see what we did
rehearsals.
there? Do you see what we did there? Yeah, but what it is normally is when somebody's got a problem.
You don't
If
understand me, Kirsty.
If I've got a problem, Michael, and I tell you I've got a problem, what's your immediate instinct as my
I've
father?
got an answer.
Don't do that necessarily, especially if that answer is buy my service. Definitely don't do that. It's more of a, oh, that must be really hard. Like, is there anything I can do to help? Perhaps you could say, but other than that, just feel like that must be really difficult. That's enough to just listen to somebody, allow them to sort of rant and rave and like, expunge their frustration. And then just sort of say, oh, you know, something happened to me and it is a really difficult time. You know, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm here for you. That can be enough.
And understanding it is that it's that deep listening. So if anybody's interested in the Recruitment Pioneers site, we did a webinar with a guy who talked about deep listening and how you do that. He used to be
incredible.
He was
negotiation,
negotiator, wasn't he? Yeah. And he was taught how to properly deep listen, and that's really good. But I tell you what, that one there, when you're talking to someone, you've got a problem, and suddenly they say something, you think you really get my situation, you really understand how I feel and what this means to me, and once you get that, the connection is enormous. It's so strong. So that's one worth doing. Or maybe I should go on the course again, Kirsty. Who knows? The next one is to keep your promises, which could not be easier.
Nope. So this one, people tend to think, Mike, don't they, that this is the big things, like, oh, you know, the project deadline is by the end of December and I'm going to meet that at the end of December. But that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, I mean, that is a promise, and one aspires to keep all promises made. But the psychology around this, again, says that it's the small promises that count the most, weirdly, because they're the ones that there's no excuse not to keep. Like, I'll ring you on Friday, and I don't. It's like, well, you know, okay, something hideous could have happened to me, and that's fine. But if nothing did, I just forgot or ran out of time. That's not good enough, really. Or I'm going to send that email by the end of the day or something, or whatever it is. The smaller the promises that you give, the commitments that you give, the more you have to keep them. And that is so powerful, because what it does is it builds up layers of trust. It's like layers of a bridge, really. And the stronger that bridge becomes, the more the trust becomes. And you know, you can even do things which let people down, but if that bridge is strong enough, you'll recover from it. So it's very important.
And that one, of course, if you combine it with the previous one, is to keep confidences as well. So if somebody tells you something, that you have this rule, don't you? It annoys my mother no end. But if someone says something to you and says, don't tell anyone, you will literally tell no one, including my mother, and it frustrates 100%. Her.
Gets me into problems, really. Gets me into conflict, really. Not just with Mrs. Ames, but it's true. But if you tell me something, I will not tell anyone. That's it. And so that is really important, because people know they can trust me. If you've ever had someone come up and say, look, don't tell anyone, but they think they're doing you a favor, what they're actually doing is demonstrating they're not trustworthy, right? So it's like, you shouldn't sacrifice anybody else's confidence. You can do it for yourself, that's fine, but your confidence is your secrets, that's absolutely fine, but not somebody else's. And then the last one goes back to what we were talking about earlier, really, is that, you know, people like to deal with people who are not serious all the time, who are light, and okay, you've got to get the job done. It's all got to be efficient. Yeah. I'm not saying sacrificing the pleasantries of an interaction with someone for the job not being done as well. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying do a great job, but make it easy, make them laugh. You know, as it says there, talk about their interests, anything that makes it a nice interaction as you get the business done. And
I mean, this is obviously one that we really struggle with at Flair, because we're very straight-laced. No, but it's one of our selling points, isn't it? It's one of our
brand values
that we like to have fun. And somebody who, you know, if working with you is enjoyable, you get to have a bit of banter and enjoyable time, as well as getting the work done. I mean, me personally, I'm always going to choose that person over somebody who just is very dour and sort of is a bit like talking to a mannequin, who can just do something.
I like that thing when the phone rings. It's so. Oh, it's how's it going? How you doing? And you've got a little bit of banter and whatever. It makes it so much better. And that all of that is what you would do with your friends. You look at what's on that screen there. All of that you would do with your friends.
Yeah.
Right. With the possible exception if you're a bloke of being understood, because it's like weird, really. But other than that, all of them you would do with your friends. Why would they be your friends? So if you can bring some of that to your clients, it changes everything. Let me tell you a story. You can bring it back to us now, Kirsty.
Yeah, and I do actually have, before we go into that, I have a question from the audience, and it's this.
I was going to buy Barry lunch because I appreciate him as a friend, right? I was going to buy Barry lunch, but now I'm not going to. You can forget it, really. And he doesn't understand me at all. He's hurt me now and upset me. He knows that.
It's definitely my friend. That's made my day. Anyway, let's go on. Let's go on with your story, Mike. Let's go on.
Okay, right. So this is an example of when you put someone in the friend zone. I'll keep it nice and short because I know we're a bit short of time, right? And we're going to come to the main bit in a minute. So, right. So we were on a B-list supplier for Severn Trent Water for contract staff back in the day, and that means we got the requirements 5 days after the main suppliers, which should be enough to find people. Let's be honest. 5 days to find a contractor. Come off it. Anyway, we went from there, where we got one contractor on site, to being the second biggest supplier on site within 3 years. Still on the B list, still got the requirements 5 days after everybody else. We were making millions of pounds each year from them. And the way we did that was we put as many of their decision makers and users of our service, the project managers, into the friend zone. And it wasn't, this is a really important point. I didn't just do that but not like them. It was authentic. Those people that I didn't get on with, I didn't do it with. It was those people who were open to be friends. They were open to that kind of relationship. And not everybody is.
I was going to say, that is a question, is there going to be some people who you just don't gel with? Yeah, they're going to be very different to you. They're the kind of people who don't like a bit of joke and banter, or they're the kind of people who support the
baggies fans. Yes, don't want to be close to them, do we? No, but there's two types of people. There's those types, really, where you just, for whatever reason, you just don't gel. They can be friendly with other people, but it's not going to be like that with you. Barry Hoffman, for one. The other one is those people that want to keep their suppliers at arm's length. That's a decision that they've made, and they're not going to be unpleasant with you. It'll be friendly, but it's not going to be more than that.
It'll be civil.
Yeah, civil. Right. Okay. Good word.
Thank you.
That's all it's going to be. So there's not much point trying to take it further, and that's absolutely fine, of course. But for me, I mean, I like everybody, as you know. I don't think there's anybody I don't like. So I'll get on with anyone, really. And if anyone wants some banter and a bit of fun about my shirt, then I'm open to that, really. But some people, aren't that way. But that's what we did at Severn Trent.
Yeah,
massively so. And then obviously at the end of that 3 years, they put us on the first list, and then we became the biggest supplier on site. But I know, made it even more money. But and I could repeat that story over and over and over again from that graph we saw earlier in the program. That's what happens when you put people in the friend zone and do it properly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, on that as well, it is almost a spectrum, isn't it? You're going to get people like you who are very happy. We used to meet some of your clients and some of your suppliers as well when we were children. Yeah. And then you're going to have people at the other end who don't want anything, who just civil. And you're going to get a whole bunch of in between. What probably won't happen is, if I'm a client and I've had a fight with my boyfriend, I'm probably not going to ring you up to complain to you. There is a certain line.
Well, you could, but I wouldn't be much use.
No, you wouldn't be any use. It's 95% friends. That's what we say, isn't it? 95%.
That is the maximum we use. Treat your client, well, people of interest, not just clients, people of interest, 95% the same as you would your friends. And you won't go too far adrift, Yeah. And some people do cross over the zone. Like they become friends and you no longer deal with them as clients. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But my starting point is to try and be friends with everybody. And see how it goes. Now there's a technique that we can use for this.
Yes.
Let me bring that up. It's called a contact regime. Now, a contact regime is it's something that you do anyway, right? I guarantee you'll do this anyway. This is just a formal way of looking at it. So can we bring up the screen, Kirsty?
We can indeed, Mike. Here we go.
Isn't that a lovely picture?
It's lovely.
Kind of orange, really, isn't it? Anyway, right. So, 3-tier contact regime. Now, again, I can only go through this at a very high level. And we are going to do some more stuff on this in some of the future shows because this is quite an important thing. But I wanted you to see where it fitted in. Right. So 3 levels. First level, every quarter, a scheduled interaction. Now, an interaction could be a telephone call, a visit, a coffee, not really an email, really, to be honest. It's going to be something a bit bigger than that, something a bit physical, really. Zoom these days, Zoom.
Something where you can have banter, somewhere you can have
Yeah.
relationship building activities.
Yeah,
That's very
and that's
difficult
what it
to
is.
do
It's
in
non-work related because I get this a lot when we teach lawyers, which we do, this stuff. They often say, yeah, but I'll talk to my clients all the time. No. This is a non-work related interaction. If they bring up work, that's fine, but that's not its intention. It's about building relationships. And normally that would be, the interaction would be to add serious amounts of value. So that could be a piece of research that you've done that they would find useful and interesting that you can share. It could be an event. So at the moment, I'm ringing around people because we've got a webinar coming up in September. I'm asking people if they want to come to it. It's free, obviously. So talk about that. Could be a social event these days. They're coming back now. Drinks after work with a speaker, or a thing that you're inviting people to that's going to be interesting and useful. So it's something a bit chunky.
Yep.
And that's the main purpose, to interact, right? Okay. Second layer, a monthly ad hoc interactions. Now, this is where I could go to a lot of detail, and we don't have the time.
We don't have the time, no.
We don't. But I will say this clearly: some of your people of interest, your clients, your prospects, intermediaries, whoever you deal with, are more valuable than others, and so they're going to have more time, more attention, because that's the deal. And that could be that you're trying to grow a relationship, or you've got a relationship that you value, whatever. The point is, an ad hoc interaction means, and that can be anything. That can be a phone call. It can be
commenting on their Instagram, their LinkedIn posts.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of social media. You can have a really good, strong interaction in a few seconds, really. Yeah. And you can do it anywhere on the planet. I can do it in Wales, actually, which is nice.
Very nice.
But it can be, but the best ones are the ones that just something happens and you think of somebody. So, for example, quick story. Years ago, and this dates this story, but it's the guy no longer works there, so I can mention his name. But there was a guy I worked with at Land Rover Parts called Pete Key, and he was really interested in his cars, and for some reason, Rovers. I'm driving along through Solihull, and I see one of the new Rover 200s going on a test run. So it's all painted grey and all this sort of stuff, so you can't really make out what it is. I ring him up from the car and follow this bloody 200 around Solihull, and he's asking me questions about it. Right now, that doesn't sound much now, and if you don't like Rovers, who does? Then that's rubbish. But the point is, he was interested in it. I connected those two with what I was seeing with him and his interest, and acted on it. I rang him up. It's that kind of thing. That's an ad hoc interaction. So it can be anything small, little comment on social media, to something big like that. Okay. You need a couple of those for your top prospects. A couple of those a month would be nice. And then this is a thing that people used to do a lot years ago, but don't do so much now, and it's a shame. Well, I've noticed one of my new connections on LinkedIn is, yes, they run a monthly subscription email. So that could be a newsletter. We used to run one called the Bracer. Do you remember years ago?
I do remember the Bracer. Throwback.
Bracer. Yes. I know, and it did us proud. But then social media kind of wiped them out a little bit, really. But they're coming back, and you get people to sign up because they want to. You don't trick them into it, and you give them something every month that they're going to find interesting or useful. Or it could be a subscription to a community. So one of my clients has got a community of CIOs, and they do stuff with this. It's an online thing. You can get online products now, which you can build online communities with. Very easy to do. And he runs this community and interacts with people and does all sorts of stuff on the back of it. But every month he gets to send out an email. We do it with our recruitment pioneers. We send them an email, tell them the new stuff that's there. This is massively important because in terms of an interaction, it's 25 interactions a year. That's what they say it takes to maintain a relationship on average. 25 non-work related interactions a year. Okay, is the research around it. Well, there's 12 straight there. You got half of them pretty much done, really, So I think that if you think deeply about a subscription email, They're pretty cool, and they're coming back. So,
Yeah.
okay, Kirst, so bring me
So
back.
just on that clarification, when you say non-work related email, by that you mean either relating to a service or product you're currently providing them or asking for a service. So for example, a work thing might be for somebody, organization tips or something. That if you're sending them something that's related to their work life but not directly to
Yeah,
your...
no. So you're right. Yeah. So again, going back to the lawyers, they had to deal with people during a process,
Yeah.
like a case, send them things, review things, have phone calls. They're work-related interactions.
Yeah.
If you're a recruiter, it's when you're managing a kind of a CV and an interview and all that sort of malarkey, right? It's the stuff that you do in your job, you get paid for. Now, you can, of course, use those. You can begin them and end them with banter, which will help you to add layers on that relationship bridge for sure. But the most powerful ones are the ones where there's no reason for you to call or make contact except to add value or inquire about something or feed off a piece of knowledge that you know about them. Like we said earlier, kind of feel like need, make them feel special. And I think if you do that, then that's when you get the real benefits from it.
Yeah. What, like Nikki said here, it's good to call client when you don't need anything. It's just checking in.
That's exactly it. I would expect that from Nikki because that's the kind of person that she is. Definitely. That is what you want to be able to do. It's just like, hey, just ring to see how you are. How the devil are you? I do it a couple of days before my holidays. I'll just ring around a load of people. Helps me unwind.
It's because you like it. That's because you like
it a lot.
That's your favorite thing to do. Yeah, but Nikki's also made another good point here, which is she gets to the point now. Again, this is expected of Nikki because she's excellent at what she does. Some clients tell her things before they tell anybody else. That's when she knows she's in that 95% friend.
That is it, right? You're in the circle of trust, which is a bit of a cliche, isn't it, really? But when you're in the circle of trust, you're a partner. When you're outside of it, you're a supplier. And you need to be in the circle of trust because that's where the big dough is, right? And the way you get it is those 5 things. And if you do those things with people in all the interactions that you have with them, then actually, do you know what? Then that's what will happen, if they want it to happen, of course.
Okay. All right. So, Mike, let me just sort of round this up a little bit because I mean, we might be closer to the 30-minute.
We are going to hit time, I think. Yeah. How exciting.
I'm very excited. So, the big challenge that people have is maxing out client revenues and protecting their clients from attack. Because without that, you sort of, if you're gaining 2 clients but losing 1, you only go 1 step forward. But if you're constantly gaining 2 and keeping 2,
but also if you're having to compete on a level playing field, I hate that. I want the edge. Like the casino only has a slight edge in gambling, but it's enough to make it enormous amounts of money.
Yeah.
Be the same with your clients. Just get that little edge, and that personal relationship will get that for you.
Yeah. So that's what our solution was, is to become their first choice supplier, to make sure that when they have a need, they think of you and your company first. And the way that we do that is we enter that friend zone. We become 95% their best friend in the world. And the way to do that is to have a contact regime. Now, Mike, you know how I do this. You know how I like this show doing. People are watching this thinking, okay, I've got, a lot of clients and I need to establish a contact regime for all of them. But how do I do that? What's the first thing that I need to do?
Okay, I'm going to have to just divert from normal practice because I'm going to give you 2. Because one's just occurred to me as you were talking, which I should have used actually as my 1, but I'm going to do it anyway. CRM. CRM is the key because CRM is how you administer or implement a contact regime because it's where you keep the data about people that you've learned, and it's the reminder to do something with somebody, right? So CRM is a very important aspect of this. So if you don't have a CRM system, you can use Outlook. It's perfectly fine to do that. If you have a CRM system, then you should begin to really depend upon it because it will administer the contact regime for you. So the first thing is to get that CRM in order. Would be my first choice. Second thing is, which is this, begin to find out the preferences your clients have. Again, excuse me, the data around this and the research that's been done around this is quite convincing. If you act on a preference, it really does create a connection. As Kirsty said, if someone remembers that she doesn't take caffeine, it's kind of, oh, that's really nice. It releases, now I can't remember what it is, dopamine, I think. It releases something, one
serotonin,
of those. Serotonin, yeah, serotonin actually. Yeah, I think you're right actually. It's like a little burst of that. It's like, oh, oh yeah, that's pretty good.
And that can be things like that, or remembering that I'm gluten-free. I went somewhere, one of my clients bought me gluten-free biscuits when I turned up, and I was ecstatic. So, but it can be also small things like remembering their preferred time of contact. So someone's an early starter and you ring them before 8 o'clock, or a late finisher.
Do they prefer, I've got a client, I know it sounds weird, who likes to be contacted via Twitter direct messages.
Yeah.
He says, because I get all sorts of other stuff, like emails and texts, all sorts of things. But if you want to get me, then you go through Twitter DM, and that's what I do. So yeah, those preferences and acting on those preferences are all the rage. It's exactly where you need to be.
Okay, I do have a question from Nigel. Do you have a target number of clients you keep close to, Mike? If you're maintaining these kind of close communications with people, obviously, if you've got 200 clients, you can't do that.
I can answer that question. Yeah. So right. So it depends on you as an individual how much time you have. That's important, because most people watching this show have got a day job. They're not just professional salespeople. So they've got a day job. So they have to deliver on other things. So you can work it between 30 and 50 in a primary group. Right, so 30 is probably the one to go for, but I've known people go as many as 50. And then in the group that sits above that, people that you'll dip in and out of and do what you can, then that can be anywhere between 75 and 100. I currently have over 300 in mine, because I'm greedy like that. Well, I've been doing it for years, so I'm second nature really. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the bigger that group of people can be.
Okay, perfect. I hope that answered your question, Nigel. So, Mike, I think this has been a great show today.
Yeah, and we've pretty much hit it, except for about 2 minutes. That's pretty
cool, want to bring up something, just one final comment.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Barry. See, Barry was years ago a client, and then he was a friend, but I'm not sure what he is now.
He's my best friend. That's what he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he loves you. I don't know why he does.
Who doesn't?
All right, and next week.
Next week, yeah.
The big one next week. Yeah. Business owners. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be 4 things that you can do that your business can do for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Don't think that that's rubbish and airheaded. Massively important if you want to build a business which can scale, that you know what those 4 things are for you. And we're going to tell you what they are and do some live stuff where we work things out for you. Going to be brilliant. Can't wait.
Very exciting time. So thank you to everybody who's been watching. Thank you for all your comments. If you've found this useful, please do let us know in the comments, or if you have anything that you'd like us to discuss, again, let us know in the comments. And finally, Mike, thanks to you, who was committed to his audience, because he's on holiday right now and he's sharing all of his wisdom with us right now. And he's also in charge of the will.
Oh, yes, there is that, isn't there? Yeah. Right, we'll see you next week, guys.